What's up, my know-it-alls? Well, that's right, it's Strange New Worlds Day, Thursday. Here we go. Okay, man, here comes Strange New Worlds, Episode 6, Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach. A threat to an idyllic planet reunites Captain Pike with the lost love of his life. To protect her and a scientific holy child from a conspiracy, Pike offers his help and is forced to face unresolved feelings from his past. Man, I tell you what, this, I don't even know where to start. Okay, so I'm trying more and more to shift from just doing a recap, like just kind of saying, this is what happened, and actually like giving thoughts. I have thoughts. I tend to do better in a conversation, hence why I believe sometimes the episodes that I have Mrs. Know-It-All on are a little more dynamic than some of these, and that's okay. But so I'm trying my best to kind of shift slightly, but it's fine. So I wasn't wrong. By that I mean last week's episode was the fun jocular comedy haha episode, and very shore leave, if you will, for those of you who are playing at home. That was an original series episode from back in the day. And so this episode, but what do you get immediately on the heels of those kind of episodes? You get something that's thought-provoking. So this episode starts with Pike giving us his captain's log. First one since the pilot. Totally down. I enjoyed seeing Pike kind of come into his own in terms of the story and the character they're giving us. We've got this father knows best type of Pike at this point, and I love that. So I feel like finally getting to see him and hearing more about his past, hearing a little bit more about who he was and those things, because a lot of that has to do with what makes Star Trek and the Captains so good. You have Kirk, who had his time on the Farragut and also had, officers and people he's known from back in the day, and people who later on either pass him in rank or whatever else. Anyway, but he deals with the past on a constant basis. You get to see things from his past where he's like, oh yeah, I knew this person this time. Same exact thing has happened with Piccard, in that in Next Generation, you saw the Stargazer, you learned a little bit about his history, you understood his battle with the Nausicaans that caused him to have his heart. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff from his past. So same thing with this. And obviously we had similar things with Sisko, with Janeway, later on with Archer, and so there is a key to understanding the captains of starships where Star Trek is involved that involves showing us what happened before they took the center chair on the particular ship or place or whatever that we're looking at the time. Big, long way of saying, I like seeing stuff from Pike's past. You get to see one of the main characters who, when she shows up immediately, she is very much a product of Pike's past. And I think that that's I liked seeing that part, especially because it harkens back to a version of him that I don't think we get to see enough of. And by that I mean, the hardest sell you had with Patrick Stewart was that he wasn't William Shatner. Same thing, the hardest sell for Benjamin Sisko, though there are some people who might be like, it was because of race. I was there at that era. I don't think it was because of race. It was the same. It was because all Star Trek fans, like every other fandom of anything established, we are all buttheads. By that I mean we're all the people who are constantly like, don't touch the thing we love! And the truth is, I loved this episode. So the whole point of the thing is that there is a distress signal. The distress signal comes from a shuttle. The Enterprise responds, and you find out that the shuttle is being attacked by another ship. The other ship turns on the Enterprise, who just, by the way, the Enterprise just kind of rolls up like a state trooper, and it's kind of like, what's going on over here? What's happening? Literally, because they go from the shot of the shuttle and the other battle cruiser that's chasing it, and you immediately pan past them on up to the Enterprise sitting there like, what's going on here? Anyway, it was great. So Uhura is currently doing her training with La'an. La'an is, it's funny because Pike even had a little moment with her in the turbo lift where he's like, oh, hey, look out for lesson 7. And she's like, what is that? And he goes, I ain't telling you nothing. He does a really cool little... so, Pike does an impression of La'an. What does that do? So, we're not getting 23, 30 episodes or whatever like we used to get. So they have to put time and experience and interaction in between, or what I call, like from my comic book days, in the white space, in between panels. So essentially, Pike doing that impersonation is very much his way of being like, hey, I've seen what's her face, La'an, in this scenario, in this type of thing. You're starting to get the idea that between episodes, there's time. As you should, by the way. When you're doing episodic television, you should totally. I do believe these episodes happen in an order. You learn, basing that off of kind of the growth of characters and interpersonal references that are being made. But I know, so I feel like there's a place in which we're learning as much as possible about these characters through what they're saying about what we're not seeing. I get that helps for when sometimes it feels like these characters get to know each other so well and blah, 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 this and that. When you don't have another franchise that had to deal with this kind of thing where you don't have the time and so you have to crunch the experiences and stuff into it, Doctor Who. So back in the day, you'd get an episode like you'd get like however many, dozens of episodes or whatever else, like 100 some odd episodes a year of Doctor Who. And so now you don't. Now you get 10. And those 10 are solid, but those 10 also signify a large portion of time. It isn't like, they've just together for 10 days. They're together for 10 episodes we see. Same thing with this. The Star Trek Strange New Worlds is set up for showing you all the television, or showing you all the experiences they're having together. Anyways, so that's literally still at the beginning of the episode. So rolling through, you get to this part where Pike and Una meet the person they just rescued. They transport them off the shuttle, and it's this woman he's met who is really who digs him in a big bad way that I was very happy to kind of see them explore. I don't think we get enough of that kind of stuff, and I feel like being able to see them explore other races. And so Star Trek set up a template. Gene Roddenberry set up a template. The basic template for those of you playing at home is that this is evolution's perfect form. The idea is the perfect form, evolutionary speaking, is bipedal. It's 2 appendages, though you can have more. It's 2 eyes, a mouth, the whole thing. 2 ocular sensors, auditory sensors, the whole shebang. And then everything is a variation thereof. That's why are all the species in Star Trek humanoid? There is actually a scientific theory that says if this is how we evolved, then on a similar scenario or similar planet, if we're the sweet spot, meaning what makes our planet what it is, then other planets like this their species will evolve such as we have. Anson Mount's doing actually really good work in this episode, and I like his perspective. I like his take on the whole thing. So when they rescue them, he's all nervous. He's like a schoolboy. It's actually pretty amusing and kind of cute. And he's all kind of, we saw it in the trailer, things all like, I'm the captain and stuff. It's cool. It's very good. And so what you end up with is they come to find out they're being attacked. The ambassador who's there with them, she tells Pike and them, it's a species that is, they're an alien colony that's been long abandoned, the whole bit. It's come to find out later on, Uhura tells him, spoiler alert, it's them. So there's a lot in this episode. This alien species is very advanced, and as a result of being very advanced, this is actually the answer to Mbenga's prayers in terms of his daughter who's currently in the transport buffer. And so he latches onto that part because they are extremely advanced. Now, they're not as advanced as us in like weaponry and different things like that, because their battlecruiser really it was like pea shooting at the Enterprise. So what you end up with is Pike is very much interested in finding out why this, because they have to investigate why this all went down, why these people, whatever they are, insurgents, insurrectionists, whatever you want to call them, are trying to rescue, because you find out this this holy child. They begin an investigation, and while they're investigating, the kid's also kind of investigating. And one of the things he stumbles upon is Mbenga's daughter. And you get this really sad moment in the very beginning where Mbenga's reading to his kid, and she's like, "You read this to me twice already," and he's like, "Oh, I'm really sorry." And he explains to her she's in the pattern buffer, and she's like, "Well," she starts to realize, "Well, how long have I been there?" And he has an automatic setting so that it's very unintrusive. So it's midway through, so mid sentence, his daughter's talking to him, and she transports away, and you're like, "Oh, okay, I see what's happening here, I think." So yeah, it's an interesting setup that they've got going on, and it's one that really you see. I hopefully see where they're going. So Mbenga talks to the child's doctor. The doctor is actually the child's son, and they're like, "Are you the child's father?" And he goes, "Only in the biological sense." You find out later on it's because everybody on their planet sees this child as their family as well. The child forsakes all other bonds, and at the end of the day, the family takes him. All the world. The people take him on. It's this planet that is covered in clouds. You find out later on the planet's got like lava and stuff in the bottom of it. Anyways, and there's buildings just popping out. It's very Squire of Gothos, or very Star Trek in how it looks, even, in that there's just literally clouds and then buildings coming out of the clouds. I'm like, okay, right on. So basically I'm back in the 60s. Totally love it. Design sense-wise. And so as the story unfolds, what you find out is that this planet, they have to... there's a failed attempt to kidnap the kid. The kid has his own subspace frequency. Spock tracks him down that way, whatever. As with everything, it's not what you think. Pike's being wooed by his ex-love interest, the love of his life, if you will. And come to find out, this culture hides a secret. A very big secret. We don't have to understand it, because that's the nature of science fiction, and that sometimes you don't understand the quandary or the conundrum you're in, you're just in it. Pike gets invited to the ceremony. The ceremony is pretty tragic. The kid is brought to this, what looks like a throne. There is a body there who they walk by, and Pike sees this, and they pull the blanket off of the body. It's the body of a child. Pike immediately is incensed, because our morals, our morality, Starfleet. And he is like, "No, I'm not going to let you do this and this and that, blah, blah, blah." And they plug the kid in. And apparently the system, later on you find out, the system is set up so that only the neural net brainwaves or the neural pathways of a child can help. It has to be the central processor for the duration of however long. And it's barbaric, it's tragic, and then in this really poignant scene, Pike is talking to her, and when he's woken up a little later because they have to knock him out because he's trying to stop the whole thing. And she says, "Are you trying to tell me children don't suffer in the Federation? The difference is we don't turn our backs on it. We look at it, and as a result that we have to deal with this, only one child has to be sacrificed." It's the Purge conundrum. If you could have essentially peace, is it worth one night of violence? If your society could be prosperous, technologically, societally speaking, whatever, the only cost of that prosperity is the suffering of one child, is it worth it? Boy, that's tough, man. And that's the kind of stuff that Star Trek asks, because they're in a conundrum, in the quandary that they can't undo the scenario. They can't change anything. He can't unplug it. To unplug the kid, it would be to kill them also. At the end of the day, you can't solve those problems and that way. And it's just amazing the questions this makes you ask. So there you go. Now you know. And if knowing is half the battle, well, then you're halfway to being a know-it-all yourself. It's a rather sobering episode, so I'm just going to jump right to the know-it-all index. I genuinely enjoyed this episode. I didn't see any issues with it. It gave me all the moral quandary stuff I'm looking for. It gave me the resolution that I thought was warranted and merited. I can't wait for Trek Talk Tuesday to talk about this with Mrs. Know-It-All. Her and I will probably have a conversation. I'm going to force her to probably watch it today, and we may very well just knock out a Trek Talk Tuesday for next week, this week. Also, my Trek Talk Tuesday ran late. That's on me. Editing schedules are really tight. We've been really busy at my day job of late, and so forgive me, but I will do my best to start kind of getting these things a little bit more of a clockwork type scenario. Also, I enjoy having Mrs. Know-It-All on some of the episodes she's on, so I tend to want to wait till her schedule's free too. But we're moving at a great clip. I can't, man. Whew. So my Know-It-All index for this episode, I'm gonna give this a 10 out of 10. I liked it. It checked all the boxes for me for what Star Trek is, but mainly it's 10 out of 10 because I feel like, yes, I can compare parts of this to original series episodes. I can compare parts of this to Next Generation and every other thing. This is the first episode that I feel like really resonated Star Trek. The Strange New Worlds really stepped into its own this episode, I feel like. The great example I give is when Matt Smith shifted into Peter Capaldi for Doctor Who. Peter Capaldi's first 2 episodes as the Doctor, I wasn't down for, and the 3rd episode, Listen, he suddenly became his own person, he suddenly became his own Doctor, and the writing was much better, and it was who he was going to be. I feel like prior to this, they were very member berries in how they've been doing the show, and they may still do a lot more of that going forward. This episode felt like, I believe, it had its own unique voice. It's very similar to how I feel in season 1 of Next Generation, where No Man Has Gone Before, and I feel like No One Has Gone Before. I feel like those episodes, that's when Next Generation found its own voice. This is the science fiction we're going to be, which is an evolution of what Star Trek is in general. So I feel like they're doing a great job with that. So, yeah, man. Comment below. Let me know what you thought of the episode. I'd love to hear your thoughts and insights. And of course, please like the video, subscribe. It helps everything going on. I can't tell you what it means to me that over 500 people want to subscribe to this channel. So, man, share it with your friends. I'd love to see this thing grow even bigger and give me the ability to have my own time here with you guys uninterrupted. And I'm down for it. So I will do my best to start freeing up more of my schedule and get you guys a little bit more stuff going on. Do me a favor. Never forget, everyone loves a know-it-all. See you next week.